welcome to Out of the Box Radio with me, your host, Christine Blasdale. Out of the Box Radio is a weekly podcast of audible ear candy dedicated to bringing a fresh perspective on this thing that we call life. And each and every week, we're going to be diving into the topics that matter most with lively conversations on issues such as health, wellness, and transformational healing, all with the goal of creating a better world and becoming a happier human being. I will be your tour guide for this epic adventure, and each and every week, we're going to be embarking on a journey with the ultimate goal being transformation to our highest potential. And now, let's get out of the box. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Out of the Box Radio. I am your host, Christine Blasdale, and today's show is a very special one to me. We're going to be talking about the work that the Wildlife SOS organization, Wildlife SOS in India, all of the amazing work that they do. And I have very special guests joining me. But before we get started, I want to let you know about an elephant in India named Raju. And Raju was held in captivity for all of his life. And he just recently was given his freedom by this incredible organization, Wildlife SOS. And so this show is dedicated to Raju the elephant and all of the men and women who work so tirelessly on behalf of not only elephants, but tigers and bears and all of the beautiful animals that are in India right now. Many of them are at dangerously low levels, almost extinct. But the work that Wildlife SOS in India does is absolutely, it's angel work. And so I wanted to introduce them to you in this broadcast. So the first clip that we're going to hear is actually from Wildlife SOS, and it's going to tell you a little bit about the elephant named Raju.
Raju was 50 years old when we rescued him. He had had an extremely hard life, changing 27 owners. And as we know, traditionally, the way a new mahout deals with an elephant is through beatings and extreme harsh treatment. Raju had to endure that 27 times over.
Raju was very scared of people to start with when he came, so it was a little difficult to treat him first few weeks, and we had to really have a lot of patience during the treatment. But as we started the positive conditioning and the target training, he calmed down slowly and he started responding really well to treatments. And we have now reached a point that when he just stands munching on his treats, and we carry on with our treatments on his wounds. Raju had a really bad knee, which was inflamed and swollen because of the wounds he had, and there was an old infection probably in his knee, which made him limp, and he was in tremendous pain because of that. So again, the treatment went on for months. We actually did ultrasound on his knee, and the swelling slowly went down, and the inflammation went down, pain went down, and he's not limping now, he's not in pain. But that was one tough treatment we had to do. Raju is doing great. He's in must right now, which is a very good indication that he has gained back his strength as a bull elephant should.
The female elephants on site responded with enthusiasm to the presence of Raju, and we feel it eased his transition into his new home considerably. Rescuing any elephant like Raju has legal complications. Elephants like Raju are typically held with illegal ownership papers. They are taken across state borders without proper transit permits, and the source of the elephant is always a grey area. When the court takes a decision to hand over the elephant to us, the owners challenge this in higher courts, and it can become very frustrating and challenging for us as well as expensive as we fight this.
So I found out about Wildlife SOS and Raju last year around the time of his rescue, and the news channels had been covering it and the rescue video had gone viral. And because of a personal love for elephants, and also because I'd found out about Raju's story and all the neglect and abuse he'd been through, I was really moved by the story. It was so heartbreaking. So I made sure I followed his recovery and everything that was happening with Wildlife SOS on social media, and I kept checking updates for him. Finally, it led me here to volunteer with Wildlife SOS and actually come meet Raju personally. He has not disappointed. He's as wonderful as I imagined he would be.
The biggest challenge Raju has faced at the initial part of the last year, at least I would say, is to regain back his confidence, his faith in human beings in general. As we all know, he's had a very cruel, very abuse history, and it's not really easy for an animal to forget that. One peculiar behavior of his is he loves to spend his time in the pool, and so much so that he sometimes goes into deep sleep in the pool for a couple of hours.
We rescued Raju last year on July 4th after he was in chains for 50 years. We were overwhelmed by the love and the support that we received from all over the world that made it possible for Wildlife SOS to rescue Raju. And we are so grateful for that support. It's been a tremendous journey for us, coming all the way through this 1 year, nursing Raju back to life virtually. He was a skeleton when he came to us. And you can see him right here, enjoying life. There are many elephants like Raju out there who are suffering torture and abuse. That's just absolutely unmentionable. We've rescued 18 elephants like Raju already, and there are several more that we need to rescue. It requires a lot of resources and funds to make it possible for us to rescue these elephants. So the more you can support Wildlife SOS, the more elephants we can rescue.
And that was just a little tiny bit about Raju the elephant and the wonderful, wonderful work that Wildlife SOS in India has done on his behalf. And now to tell you a little bit more about the organization and the amazing work that Wildlife SOS does, going to let you listen now to a talk from my very special guest this hour. This is a talk that Kartik Satyanarayan, who is the co-founder of Wildlife SOS, a little bit about the work that they do, not only for the elephants, but so many animals, in particular in India. So let's listen now to a very special talk from Kartik Satyanarayan, the co-founder of Wildlife SOS. And then after this, we're going to have a one-on-one talk with Kartik about a very special event that's happening here in Los Angeles, but also how you can support Wildlife SOS no matter where you are and no matter what time. Let's listen now.
I started a charity in India called Wildlife SOS with my co-founder and colleague Geeta Seshamani in 1995. It's also a charity in the States here now. With the help of some volunteers, we managed to get that happen. So that's kind of the distance we traveled to get here to speak with all of you today. Now, what got me to do this was the fact that as a young boy, I spent a lot of time in the forests, in the jungles in India, and tigers were something that the jungles were home to. Very often, you would hear the calls of a tiger reverberating through the forest. It would go something like this: "Ow, ow, ow," and it kind of goes through you like an electric current, and just makes you respect nature. That's what I grew up to a lot through school and college. Magnificent animals like the leopards that you see every day, the unique sloth bear, not as unique as the drug dealing stuff that we had an earlier speaking about, and the scaly anteater or the pangolin. Now, these animals were getting really rare, and what bothered me was that these animals were disappearing, and it really got to me back then when I was in school. We started noticing a lot of animals being captured, and then we had to rescue. For example, this horned owl was rescued from some poachers who were selling it to someone, where this owl would be an ingredient in a black magic ritual. So this is what was going on back then. And baby bear cubs, again, bear paw soup is a delicacy in some parts of the world, and these are bear cubs that we had to rescue. As this poaching and mass killing of these wild animals went on, it really bothered me a great extent. Nothing was spared. Even cobras, deadly cobras, as deadly as they could be, were captured. Their venom glands gouged out, their fangs plucked out through pliers, and their mouths stitched up sometimes. They would be used for street performances, as snake charmers would use them. And when they were too weak to be used, they would be skinned alive and turned into purses or wallets or handbags. That's what a dead cobra looks like. That in fact is 2 dead cobras. So no animal is safe. Tigers, leopards, hyenas, otters, every single animal was being poached. Body parts used in every way possible. These are leopard and tiger claws that are being used as good luck charms across India in many places. Bear teeth and claws, in many cases these teeth are actually pulled out of these bears when they're still alive and sold off as good luck charms and amulets. Bear parts, as you can see over here, taught me, they're ingredients in traditional Chinese medicine. This kind of taught me that enforcing the law wasn't really going to help. We had to do more than that, and it led me to try and dig deeper and understand the business of poaching. What was this business of poaching? It's an extremely dirty business. It's only second next to narcotics on the world crime scale. And the fact that India had porous borders across on its borders didn't help. We had wildlife traders using extremely creative and clever methods of getting wildlife contraband out of our country by hiding contraband in bags of salt and sacks of coal and putting them on the backs of donkeys and taking them across borders. So who were these people? Why were they poaching these animals, and where did they live? Now, this led me to understand the hunting communities in India. This is a hunting community called the Bavarias. This is a Bavaria camp, and they specialize in hunting leopards and tigers and killing them only, largely. And children in their camp are desensitized when they're really young. They start by killing birds and small animals. And this child is barely 3 years old, already has a knife in his hand. This is another community called the Badiyas. They have no literacy at all, no health care, no education in these families. A snake charmer from a Jogi community. So there were tons of these communities that we wanted to work with, we had to work with and understand. Now these communities believed in their elders. The elders in the community, like this man, are the ones who enforced the law. They had their own laws. They didn't follow the law of the land. And they didn't care about jail so much. It didn't make a big deal to them. The tools they use are so simple, but when combined with their excellent field skills, these tools are deadly. Now, this is probably something most of you may not have seen. This is a jaw trap, or a leg hold trap, as we call it. It's made with discarded car parts, a rusted chain, a bit of sack, and a piece of wood, which works as an anchor. And that costs less than $5 to make and will trap a tiger in the wild. Once a tiger is trapped, it's not easy for it to get out. If it does, then it's disabled for life. If it doesn't, then it's bludgeoned and beaten to death so the skin doesn't get damaged, and then the skin is removed and sold off along with the bones and the fat, which become ingredients in Chinese traditional medicine, and sent off to various countries, Southeast Asia, through traders. So what this taught us was that if we did not do something about helping these communities, because these communities have been doing this for centuries, for decades, and going to jail was not a big deal. They would go into jail, come back out on bail, and go back straight to killing. And we needed to do something which was compact, which was sensible, which was sustainable in the long run. And alternative livelihoods, rehabilitation, which would provide them another way of changing their lives, create employment opportunities. And this is what we did. We tried to get seed funds through Wildlife SOS, provide them alternative livelihoods. And in this case, we started harnessing the excellent skill they had with handling wild animals. This is not a deer on the ground being killed or hunted. It's actually a nilgai antelope that's been rescued by a team, and every one of those 6 people you see there is a reformed hunter that we ended up recruiting and training. This nilgai antelope is being rehabilitated and moved from the Delhi airport, where it got onto the runway, and we released it alive and safe. This is a hyena that was injured and is being moved to the Wildlife SOS hospital. We had to train these people in care and compassion and handling animals properly, but it was well worth it. It made a huge impact. This monkey was electrocuted, and this reformed hunter is rescuing this monkey, not killing it, and brought it to a hospital. It survived. So Wildlife SOS actually runs a 24/7 hotline using reformed poachers and hunters to rescue animals, and it started working. This is a challenging one. This leopard was trying to cross into a farmhouse, got impaled on a wall-top fence. There was an electric line right next to it, and our team showed a lot of hardiness and courage in rescuing this leopard. But not everything goes as well. In some cases, we have been very fortunate to convert these reformed hunters into intelligence-gathering people. So they go hang out with the bad guys, smoke some marijuana, gather intelligence, pass it on back to us. And we use that intelligence to arrest poachers like this. These are 2 poachers who've been arrested red-handed with a leopard skin. And we've had several successful operations across India. It's worked incredibly well, using the community to infiltrate other poaching communities and learn more about it. This lady had been selling bear cubs for decades. Again, it was our intelligence network developed entirely from reformed poachers that helped us do this. We rescued this bear cub. He was barely 2 weeks old, and he made it eventually. It's really sad sometimes when we have to do these rescues, and you find these orphan cubs and the mothers have been killed. Crime occurs in very remote parts in India, and anti-poaching operations create positive moments and motivation for our enforcement agencies and the police. You know, not often do they get to smile, considering the amount of crime and gory stuff that they have to deal with. So this is quite a rare photo. Now, these children are from these hunting communities. They have never been educated. They need education. Otherwise, they're going to go the same way as their parents have. This girl over here is going to school. We've been able to send her and 800 other children like her to school. Here's a photo of a group of children getting books and just getting ready to go to school. And it's now a proven method. If just a few of us in a small organization like Wildlife SOS are able to make this change, if all of us get together, we can make this happen. It costs us about $15 a month to send a child to school, pay the school fees, uniforms, books, etc. And we can make that happen. We can make that change. So the first thing we had to do was take the word impossible and throw it out. Thank you very much. I'm going to end my talk with another call of how the tiger calls in India and in Indian jungles, how you hear that. Ow! Ow! Thank you.
And that was Kartik Satyanarayan from the incredible organization called Wildlife SOS. He is the co-founder of Wildlife SOS in India. Now, without further ado, going to go to a very special interview that I had with him just the other day, talking about a little bit more about Raju and the elephant that they rescued and the work that this organization does, and also about a very special event that's happening in Los Angeles on November 4th. That's Saturday, November 4th in Los Angeles. We'll give you that information in this interview. So please enjoy and also support Wildlife SOS in whatever way you can. My guest right now is Kartik Satyanarayan. He is the CEO of Wildlife SOS in India. He's also a member of the IUCN Bear Specialist Group, the Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, the State Wildlife Advisory Board of the Government of Jammu and Kashmir, and so many other incredible credentials this man has. And today we're going to be talking about the plight of many animals in India, but in particular the elephants, because there's a very special event that's happening here in Los Angeles for Wildlife SOS. First, I want to welcome to the program Kartik. Welcome, Kartik. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on this. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Now, let's talk about the work that you've done. How many years have you been involved with wildlife rescue there in India?
I think a total of about 22 years now.
And there is a great deal of poaching that is going on. I know with elephants, part of the allure of killing the elephants is for their ivory. Can you please talk about the ivory trade and the worldwide, well, I don't know if it's demand for it or what the current status is right now on elephants and their disappearing from this planet?
Well, at the moment, we are primarily, we've got African elephants in Africa, and then we have the Asian elephants. African elephants, of course, they have a clear disadvantage because both the bulls, which is the male elephants, and the cows, the female elephants, they both have ivory, which makes them much more susceptible to poaching for ivory, which is really sad. And yes, thousands of elephants are killed each year, which is very shocking. And we could technically lose all elephants very soon. Asian elephants are also equally endangered. We have a lot less Asian elephants. About 50% of the Asian elephant population is in India, which means India is the last stronghold for the Asian elephants. There's barely 25,000 elephants left, and that is nearly 2% of what was there just 100 years ago. So there were 1 million elephants about 100 years ago, and today 98% of those elephants are gone.
Oh.
And we have a small volume, a small population left. And we could lose that if we are not careful. They could become extinct completely. Now, Asian elephants are poached not only for ivory, but also for the captive elephant industry. So young calves are captured from their herds, separated from their herds and torn away from their families, and then beaten into submission, their spirits broken over a 6 to 8 month long beating process, which is called basically breaking them in, after which they're then sold off to circuses, to temples, to tourism projects, etc. And very often they're fraudulently legitimized as well in order to kind of sneak them into this. And that is unfortunately a huge threat that is looming over the Asian elephant population in India.
So you have, not only are they wanted for their ivory, but they're also wanted for their entertainment value. Is that what it is? Or it's a way for people to make money? Is it also, because I know the work that Wildlife SOS, one of the amazing things that you do is, in addition to rescuing these elephants and bears, but in particular, I'm talking about the elephants. You also, so you don't just go in and through great effort and risk to your own life and the people on your team, a great deal of risk to their lives, get the elephant out if you can. But then you do something very unique with the people who perhaps were making a living off of these elephants, do you not?
Absolutely, Christine. We work with the people rather than against them. And wherever possible, we try and recruit them to come onto our team. And we understand that very often people exploit animals because they don't know any better, and we try to educate them. We try to, bring that component of compassion into their minds. And we try and convince them that, well, you've had to exploit this elephant for whatever reason, and here's an opportunity for you to not have to do that any longer. You could work with us, work on the right side of the law, become a part of our team, and we will make sure that you don't ever have to exploit this elephant. That's what we've been trying to do.
Well, part of what Wildlife SOS does is round-the-clock emergency wildlife rescue. So you have a hotline there that people can call and let you know about an animal that is in danger or that they've spotted?
That's correct, Christine. We have a Wildlife SOS hotline, which functions in the Delhi NCR region. So we deal with about nearly 5 suburbs around the Delhi region. We even have a specific national hotline for elephants. So if people see elephants in distress and abuse or being trafficked, they can actually call our elephant hotline, and we will immediately respond by connecting with the forestry department, the wildlife authorities, the police, and kick a reaction team together and respond if there is a need to do that.
And you also are credited by having the only elephant ambulance in India. I would imagine that to be quite a large ambulance.
Yes, indeed it is. It's nearly 30 feet long, and it is the first properly designed elephant ambulance for the entire country. That's correct. And it's helped us get many an elephant out of a very critical and life-threatening situation.
And speaking of life-threatening, now I had mentioned really briefly that frequently the workers at Wildlife SOS are not only threatened but attacked, and sometimes worse. Things happen to them from the poachers when they're trying to do the rescue. This is very dangerous work that you do, Kartik, is it not? It sounds like it's very dangerous.
Yes, it can be very dangerous, Christine, but someone's got to do it. So, yes, we do go out on a limb. We are very lucky. We have a dedicated and a very passionate team. And, and Geeta and I, as founders of the organization, have learned that you've got to lead things from the front if you want to have success. And, we also believed that everything is possible. If you want to help an animal in distress, you've got to remove the term impossible and put that aside. So we learned that very early in our work. And, we do avoid making foolish risks, but, we will go out of our way and do everything that's possible physically to help an animal in distress. If it's needed, we'll even hire private security, go into a dangerous situation. We do have some bulletproof vests that sometimes we have to wear when we go into very dangerous situations. Thankfully, we yet haven't lost anyone to the elephant situation. But in the past, when we've rescued leopards and things like that, there have been situations when we've been shot at and stuff like that. I've had a bullet in my leg in one such occasion in the past, but thankfully it missed my bone by about 3 millimeters, so I lived to tell the tale.
Yeah, you have too much work to do. You have too much work to do. Nothing can stop you. If you don't mind, we had one of the things I know especially with elephants, they're looked at upon for their ivory, which is a very lucrative trade. They're also looked upon as entertainment and a source of funding for many people who participate in this type of entertainment with these elephants. Can you talk about the emotional, because you've worked so much with them, the family connections that they have, the emotional. Let's talk about how elephants relate to one another, and also maybe also have related to you, to humans who have tried to help them.
Well, elephants are extremely social animals. They are sentient beings. They're actually as emotional as human beings. So I think if anything else, the amount of trauma that, human beings put elephants through must be extremely excruciating, because they can feel emotions as much as we can. They're extremely sentient beings. And they have a very close family bond. And you can imagine it's nothing close. It is nothing different from kidnapping or genocide, when a group of poachers get together and actually tear a couple of calves out of a herd or capture elephants from a herd just so they can be sold away for a few $1,000s and they can make some money from that. And then that particular elephant, or those elephants that are removed from that herd, are then sold into a lifetime of captivity when they're first brutally beaten down till their spirit is kind of broken and they give up the ghost, so to say. So they will allow themselves to be trained and then sold off as a trained captive elephant to do tricks or beg on the streets or stand in a temple or perform in a circus or take tourists for rides, just so somebody can make a little bit of money. But that elephant will then live the next 50 or 60 years of its life, because these elephants live long lives, chained, usually on concrete, very often standing in their own dung and their own feces. So I think if you put yourself in the position that an elephant is in, with the amount of emotion it has and the feelings it can feel, I think it's really shocking that that humans don't think twice, and that this practice has been continuing. It's really a pity that elephants cannot speak, but you can really feel this when you look into an elephant's eye and you see what the elephants suffer. That said, I also must say that when we've rescued elephants in the past, very often we get choked in our throats get choked when we see what they've been through, and when we are finally able to free them and liberate them from their extremely painful situations. It does give us a lot of fulfillment and joy, but it also brings us to tears very often.
Of course. And
it is something that I can say that, I have myself felt, that an elephant that we've been able to liberate connects almost immediately. It's like they know, and they can feel that you're here and you're trying to help that elephant get out of that situation. And that elephant may have been extremely aggressive, extremely threatening to other people. And you have a team who's a complete strange lot to the elephant, and the elephant completely cooperates with us, lets us get him on the ambulance and get out of that situation. So, I can say that, they bond with people very easily. If you have the right kind of energy, you have the right kind of intentions, and you show them that, that you're not here to cause them any harm, but you're actually there to help them. That said, we must remember the amount of trauma and abuse they've gone through all their lives, and we've got to respect that, those mental scars, and of course the bodily abuse that their bodies have taken. So it's going to take a long time for them to forgive, forget, and acknowledge and allow us to help them.
And how amazing is it that to see a human approach them and not to recoil in absolute terror after years and years of being beaten and broken down, but to connect with you or the people that you work with, and to allow you to get them out of there. It's what a spirit that is. One very well now, I guess, because of YouTube and the internet. There was one particular rescue that captured the hearts of many people around the world. This was the rescue of Raju, they're saying the most famous elephant in the world, and partially because of the tears. Can you talk about Raju and what happened with that rescue?
Yes, Raju elephant was extremely special. We'd been tracking him for quite a long time. And it was getting extremely frustrating that we were not able to get that elephant out of the situation. And then finally, We worked quite hard with a team of lawyers, with the forestry department and the police. And finally, it looked like there was a small window that was opening up. And that was the only window we were going to have to get that elephant out of the situation that he was in. And so we descended onto that location. This was a city called Allahabad, overnight train journey from New Delhi, which is the capital of India. And, we had several teams arrive in that location from different places, and I had to kind of be undercover. So this was a park that he was kind of kept captive in. And so I was, my role as a decoy that morning when I went there was to actually be reading a newspaper in a kind of undescribable part of the park. And I made a little tear in the newspaper, and I was kind of watching the man and the elephant, the chap who had the elephant in his illegal custody. And I was documenting that and, sending feedback to my teams who were watching and positioned around that park. By about 6 p.m. that evening, as it was getting dark, we got the forestry department, the police all ready and lined up, for the actual action point. And then when we came forward and kind of, were ready with the police and the enforcement officers to take over that custody, the people who were holding possession of that elephant came forward, and there was a big group of them. And they said, well, we will, you give us 20 minutes and then, we'll let you come and take the elephant. And so we said, fine. And the police said, well, give them 20 minutes. If they will do it peacefully and we don't have to arrest anyone, that's better. And so we said, fine. So they went down and they came back 20 minutes later with a big grin on their face. And they said, well, let's see how you go and untie him now. Go ahead. And so I realized what had gone wrong. And, we had trusted them, and they had actually gone there, tied him up with those spiked anklets, beaten him black and blue, and basically riled up the elephant to a point where he was completely mad, angry, vicious, and just dying to tear anybody apart, So they'd done that to him, and they were going to watch the fun. So I got the police to first put all those people in custody so that, they would not create any more trouble. And once we had them out of the situation, then we went and sat down with Raju just out of his reach, his trunk's reach. But he was really upset. He had already defecated, all over the place. He had diarrhea because of the fear that they had already induced in him. He was picking up branches and throwing it left, right, and center like missiles. Branches which would weigh, 50, 60 pounds, he would just throw them like pencils all around. And, some of our people got injured at that point of time. And so basically we settled down around him, moved anything that he could use as missiles, and basically just kept talking to him and giving him things. We couldn't even get close enough to untie those vicious spiked chains and anklets that they had put onto his feet, which were deeply embedded into his legs. And his feet were bleeding constantly, and there were holes all over his legs. And it took us a long time, and we just did that, sat with him. And of course, we were surrounded by, zillions of mosquitoes at that point. And, I was quite scared that some of my team members and I would probably come down with malaria that night for sure. But I think, we had some universal energy and, and the elephant's blessings perhaps with us. So, we just kind of did that. And all the way from 6:30 p.m. all the way until nearly 3 a.m. in the morning, we just sat there with him and kept talking and kept talking, and he started calming down slowly. And then he allowed us to actually approach him and, give him a few things to eat, give him water. And then he allowed us to take off some of those anklets off his feet and loosen them. And that's when, it became nearly 4:30 in the morning. And we knew the minute it would become light at 5:30, we would have the risk of another big group of people, the supporters of the people who were his illegal custodians, would land up again and probably block us from getting out of that location. And so we knew we had a very small window now, and we had to take everything out and move him out of there. We had a truck organized, which had been waiting all night long. But there was that one final chain that we had to take off. And when we approached him that last time, I could see these copious gushes of water coming down his eyes. And I asked my veterinarian who was right there, and I said, Yadu, his name is Dr. Yaduraj. I said, that elephant looks like it's crying, man. And he said, yes, it is. I mean, elephants are extremely emotional animals. I'm sure he feels all this very much. So I could see these huge gushes of, tears kind of coming down his cheeks. And that's when I took a photo and, I uploaded it online. And, that kind of went viral. And then, when we took off his chains, it was like he knew, okay, this was his ticket out of this hellhole. So he let us walk him to the truck. He got onto the truck, and we were out of there like a bat out of hell in no time at all. And we requested the police to hold on to those people in custody till we kind of were out of that district and safe. We had 2 police vehicles escort us and Raju out of that location, out of that district. And by daylight, we'd actually, covered a great amount of distance and moved out of the district to a certain amount of safety. But we had a couple of escort vehicles to make sure that we were safe, and all the way till we got Raju to the Elephant Conservation and Care Center in Mathura. So it was quite a challenge. It was dangerous. Anything could have happened that night, and a lot of us were in constant danger. But we made it and lived to tell the tale. But I'm so glad we were able to get Raju out. We wouldn't have gotten out of there without Raju. We were determined to not get out empty-handed that night.
And it's changed your life. I mean, I can tell. I can hear it in your voice, and it would change anybody's life who could witness that. That beautiful moment when you were able to, that relief you must have all felt when you were able to get him out of there. And where is Raju now? Where is he now?
He's at the moment in the Wildlife SOS Elephant Conservation and Care Center, and basically having a relaxed time, and he's living out his life. But the amount of abuse and trauma he's been subjected to, like most other elephants, I think their bodies eventually do take a real beating, and the amount of severe wear and tear that they've been subjected to, I think it's beginning to show on them. And Raju, like most of our other elephants, also is showing signs of that. He's never going to be a completely healthy spring chicken ever again.
No.
He'd already been abused for 52 years of his life before we could rescue him. So we're determined to give him every possible joy and every little bit of dignity that we can offer him till the last day that he has on this planet. That's the best we can do.
What a beautiful, beautiful life mission you have, Kartik. What a beautiful heart you have. I feel it right now. So huge, so large. And the people that work with you there at Wildlife SOS. I want to let our listeners know that they can find out more about your organization, Wildlife SOS, by going to the website, wildlifesos.org, and they can find out all about the work that you do. And if they'd like to support that work, definitely encourage them to go to the website and do as much as they can for these absolutely beautiful, gentle giants, and very brave work that you do and tireless efforts that you do. And I understand that there's something happening very, very soon, November 4th, I believe. There is a fundraising event that's happening here in Los Angeles, so people can actually come and participate in that. And will you be there as well?
Absolutely, yes. I'm coming there, and both my co-founder and colleague Geeta Seshamani and I will both be there on November 4th. It's an event called Tusk After Dusk. And, we'd love for everybody listening to the show to please come to that event. You can get tickets on www.tuskafterdusk.com. That is TUSKAFTERDUSK.com. And it's in Avalon in Los Angeles. And we're honoring 3 people. We have 3 honorees at that event. And the event will have vegan food, wonderful live entertainment, and an auction. And there's 3 great performances scheduled for that evening. On top of that, I will be giving a talk about the work of Wildlife SOS, saving India's elephants, bears, and leopards. And I would love to meet with everybody out there who cares about elephants and cares about making this planet a safer, gentler, and more kinder, compassionate place.
Oh, it sounds like an absolutely incredible event. And it actually happens to be my birthday. It's a magical
Wow.
day. Yeah,
you
November
certainly
4th.
should come. I hope to see you there that evening.
I will do everything I can to be there. And I'll remind the listeners now a little bit about that. This is Tusk After Dusk. It's a night of 1,000 elephants, and it's a benefit to support Wildlife SOS India for preservation of endangered species. And my heart is just so attached to elephants, and so I really do hope people will go and check it out. For more information about this event, it's tuskafterdusk.com. It takes place, again, on my birthday, November 4th, and it is at the Bardot Room at the Avalon in Hollywood. And it's November 4th from 6 to 10 p.m., an incredible event. Of course, Kartik, my guest, will be there. And a dear friend of mine who is an incredible artist who will be lending her hand in helping raise funds is Lily Hayden. Fantastic. Have you heard Lily's music before, Kartik?
No, I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping to go online and listen a little bit more. But yes, I'm really looking forward to it. You
will be amazed at her her wonderful. She's called the Jimi Hendrix of the violin.
That's lovely.
So it sounds like a wonderful, wonderful evening. We're going to be telling our listeners a little bit more about how they can get tickets. But if you want to find out more information about the event, it's tuskafterdusk.com. Again, Kartik Satyanarayan. I hope I said that kind of right. Kartik,
yes, very close.
Thank you so very much for all of the work that you do, and I hope we can get a lot of people out there at the event on November 4th. Thank you again so very much. Anything you'd like to say in parting?
One last thing I'd love to tell everyone who's listening in is that we cannot do this without all of you. We can only help these elephants, and we're only as strong as you make us. So we need you out there. Please come to the event. Please join us, connect with us, and help us make a huge difference to the elephants out there that need our help. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Kartik. Thank you. Again, your heart is huge, and I'm so very, very honored to meet you today. So thank you so very much. Folks, you can find out more information about Tusk After Dusk by going to tuskafterdusk.com. Again, it's November 4th from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Avalon in Hollywood. And also you can find out more information on what you can do to help elephants and the wildlife in India, which are all of our, it doesn't matter where they're located because they're all our elephants. You can go to wildlifesos.org. Thank you so very much, Kartik, again, for all of the work that you do.
Thank you, Christine.
I want to thank you so very much for listening to the program today. We've got a lot more in store for you this year, so please stay tuned. You can subscribe to the podcast by going to iTunes or iHeartRadio. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then that way you can actually share the programs that you hear. So if you liked what you heard today and you want others to hear about it, you want to share this program, go to YouTube, subscribe to Out of the Box Radio, and you can send very easily the program, the video of this program, to friends and family. Oh, and I wanted to make a very special announcement before I forget. Out of the Box Radio is going to start accepting media sponsorships. What does that mean? That means that your organization, your product, your company, your service can be promoted on this program. There'll be different packages available to you, but the best news is there's approximately 22,000 digital downloads of the podcast each and every month. And again, that number is growing as well. We're growing. So if you're interested in a sponsorship package, please contact me, Christine, and you can do that by emailing me at cblosdale@yahoo.com. If you don't know how to spell it, it's C, as in Christine, Blosdale, BLOSDALE, @yahoo.com. There's a number of different packages available to you. Again, that email address is cblosdale@yahoo.com, cblosdale@yahoo.com. I'm really excited about this coming year. I want you to know that I've got some incredible programming lined up for you. And please, so that this program can grow and more people can find out about wonderful guests like we've had on today, please share this information. Tell others about it. So until next time, I always want to remind you to think outside the box. Have a beautiful day or evening, and we'll talk to you soon. Tune in next week. Bye for now.